Based on the head types at the inlet and outlet and the type of shell, you have the TIMA heat exchangers defines the classification of the heat exchangers. So depending on the classification, that is the type of the two sides of heads, that is the two channel sides, and type of shell, there are different types of heat exchanger types defined. So if you look into any drawing or design report of heat exchanger, you will find that TIMA type would be mentioned. So this TIMA type consists of three letters. The three letters corresponds to the first and last correspond to type of the head at the beginning and at the end, and the middle letter corresponds to the shell construction, the type of shell that that particular exchanger has. So for example, the exchanger which is shown in this particular figure would be termed as TIMA type AES. The letters A, E and S corresponds to: A is removable channel and cover, E corresponds to single pass shell, and S corresponds to floating head. If you refer to the previous slide, you will get the codes corresponding to AES. So A is here, E is here, and S type is given there. You can look it more clearly in the handouts which are provided to you. Before we go into design of the heat exchanger, let's have a look at how the manufacturing of an heat exchanger takes place, the manufacturing sequence. So that give you an idea that as a designer, what considerations you should have, because the design has to be made so that it is possible for it to manufacture in a simple manner. So have a look at how the heat exchangers are manufactured. That will give you idea as to mainly how the tube bundles are manufactured, and the role of baffle and other structural members which you need to take into consideration while you are designing them. So we'll have a look at an YouTube video which will give you an idea about their design. So in this video, we will see an construction of any type of heat exchanger. So the first part is the shell type of the outer shell, the body which is outside the tube bundle first gets manufactured. This is the tube sheet which, so we are starting to manufacture the tube bundle. So onto the tube sheet, first you are making, so the straight lines what you see in this particular figure, they are known as the tie rods. So the tie rods are first attached to the tube sheet, and then the baffles are inserted one after another. So the type of baffle which you see here, this is known as a cut baffle. So towards the end of this session, we will see more details about the baffles. So once the tube sheet and tie rods are assembled, you start inserting the baffles. In order to separate the baffles from each other, the red part or the red lines what you see here, they are known as spacer tubes. So they maintain the distance between the baffles, in between the adjacent baffles. So these spacer tubes are inserted over the tie rods, and the baffles are inserted so that their spacing is properly maintained. So all baffles get manufactured one after another. Once they are manufactured, the tie rods, the tube bundle assembly is locked by means of uh, tie rod nuts. So this assembly is locked so that all baffles and tie rod are locked with the tube sheet. After this, you insert the tubes. So you will see the procedure where the tubes are getting inserted into one after the other. So this is the process where you require good manufacturing tolerance so that the tubes pass through all the baffle holes properly. Then you attach the second tube sheet, complete the tube to tube sheet joints, and then insert the shell and the channel sections. So that completes the manufacturing of an heat exchanger. While you are designing a heat exchanger, another parameter which is to be known is known as TIMA design class. So TIMA defines three classes of design: class R, class C, and class B. So depending on the severity of your service, the class would be defined, and the different rules and regulations of TIMA are different for each of these class. So class R is the most severe one, and class B is the least severe one. So this is again you will have to is for your information that while you are picking up the clauses from TIMA design standard, you'll have to first uh, assign a class depending on the design conditions of your heat exchanger. Before we move into the actual design calculations, let's understand what is the different types of tube to tube sheet joint. The tube to tube sheet joints are the most important. So they are the one which separates the shell side fluid and the tube side fluid from each other. So you have the tube sheet which is shown here as a plate. So this is the tube sheet and this is the tube. So outside the tube you have the one fluid. So this is shell side fluid, and inside the tube you have the tube side fluid. In order that these two don't get mixed up, so the shell side fluid will try to pass through the joint and mix with the tube side fluid. So tube side fluid is the one which is on this side. So to avoid this mixing, you require a proper arrangement of joining the tube with the tube sheet so that this leakage would be minimized. There are different types of design depending on the requirements. The one which is most economical or least costly of them is known as expanded joint. So this expansion could be mechanical expansion. So you have mechanically expanded joints or you have hydraulically expanded joint. So you have mechanical and hydraulic expanded joints. So in both the cases, the tube is inserted into the tube sheet, and the tube sheet has got what is known as expansion grooves. So these are known as expansion grooves. And in mechanical expanders, you have a mandrel which goes inside, and it has a tapering geometry which pushes the tube towards the expansion grooves, and tube flows into the grooves and the joint takes place. Unless it is controlled properly, it can lead to some breakage or initiation of cracks in the tube sheet. So it is, if you require more control, use hydraulic expansion process, in which case the expansion force is applied by using a properly calibrated hydraulic pressure. In both these cases, although they can be used for low pressure applications, so they are typically used for low pressure applications where the chances of leakage can be avoided by this mechanical sealing. If you require more positive sealing, you use what is known as seal welded. So, or different types of welded joint. So, in seal welded joint, you have the tube which is inserted into the tube sheet, and the projected part, some part of the tube is projected and it is welded to the tube sheet. So this is known as a seal welded joint. So this provides a more positive connection with the tube sheet. In the strength welded joint, so in the strength welded joint, I will just draw on the other side. You have the tube and you have the tube sheet. In strength welded joint, you make a groove inside the tube sheet. You machine a groove and then fill up the groove with the weld material as well as some kind of a fillet in addition to that of the groove weld. So this provides more strong joints. So this is used for more high pressure heat exchangers. In all these cases, that is mechanical joint as well as the seal welded joint, you have what is known as the chance of crevice corrosion. So if you notice here, in all the cases, there is a crevice which is formed between the tube hole and the outside of the tube. So there is a crevice here, as well as there is a crevice which is formed between the two holes here. So through this crevice, the shell side fluid enters into this crevice, which is very narrow region, and it gets settled there, and there is something what is known as crevice corrosion takes place. So you have a crevice corrosion taking place, which is finally detrimental to the life of heat exchanger. Because of the corrosion, the weld or the efficiency of mechanical joint both get adversely affected, and tube to tube sheet joint starts leaking after few years or months of service. So in that case, either you have to plug the tubes or you have to replace. If there are number of tubes which are started leaking, then you have to change the tube bundle, which can be both. You have to close the plant for doing this kind of maintenance, and for very critical applications, such type of joints are avoided, and you use some special joints, and one of them is internal bore weld. So in internal bore weld, you provide a very special geometry. So the tube sheet has got uh, so this is the tube sheet which has got projections on one side, and the tube gets welded onto this projection by means of a butt weld. So in order to make this butt weld, you require a special type of welding gun which goes inside and then do the orbital welding. So this joint is very costly, very difficult to clear through non-destructive testing, and used for very critical exchangers which are operating at very high pressure, and also in the nuclear industry. So this gives you an basic idea about the different types of tube to tube sheet joints. And as a designer, there are calculations involved in the how much, for example, what should be the size of the seal weld, or how much expansion pressure is to be provided. But these are beyond the purview of this course, and we will not be going into the actual calculations for tube to tube sheet joint. But we have looked at the different types of joints, and you have to know that for designing or doing calculations, there is a separate procedure which is available.